Very good evening to you with the Monday, August 20th edition of the CBC Evening News. I'm Ryan Broom in our top story. Prime Minister Mia Moore-Motley and the Barbados Labour Party are rallying behind Minister of Education and MP for St. Michael's Southeast, Santia Bradshaw. Ms. Bradshaw has revealed publicly that she's tested positive for breast cancer. Prime Minister Motley, while saluting Ms. Bradshaw for her courage, assured her that she would not be walking alone.
What you saw and are seeing is an extraordinary display of courage. It is an extraordinary display of courage. When I first learned of these challenges a few weeks ago, Sandy and I would discuss, and of course the hardest part is always the weight. And once we realized what it was, I said and she said almost at the same time that the burden of secrecy is too heavy a burden to carry. It always is, in whatever aspect of our life. And I have learned in public life to face it and address it.
Ms. Bradshaw made her constituents aware of the diagnosis following a meeting at the Parkinson Resource Center in the Pine last evening. She says the cancer is treatable and as the doctors have found it early. Ms. Bradshaw says she does not intend to let this get the better of her.
And I'm making sure that I embrace you and tell you and hold you with me along the way as you have held me on this journey to be where I am today. And so there will be periods where you're going to miss me from the floor of Parliament. There are periods where you're going to miss me from the constituency. There are periods over the last couple of weeks where many of you may have said, you didn't see Santia, but this is the reason why. And I don't like being in a position where I can't tell my people what is going on, because I'm not accustomed to that.
Despite a decline in figures over the last 2 years, the number of women who have visited the breast screening program of the Barbados Cancer Society so far this year is encouraging. That's according to the program's medical coordinator, Dr. Shirley Jagru. Dr. Jagru notes that breast cancer is not only the most commonly diagnosed cancer among Barbadian women, but it's also the #1 cause of cancer-related deaths in that group. She therefore hopes more people will come in to get tested.
The number of mammograms for the first 6 months of the year 2018 was 3,468, and ultrasounds 337. This was a small improvement from 2016 and 2017, where we did have a fall in both attendance for mammograms and ultrasound. And I blame that mainly on being a woman. You tend to put your health on the back burner. The economy was not good, so you deferred having, or women deferred having their mammograms or taking care of themselves. However, we've seen some improvement over the last 6 months, and we hope that that would continue.
In other news now, some residents of the Haynesville-St. James community are upset about the way police carried out a raid in their area. Kareem Smith visited that district today and files this report.
Haynesville residents say they are unhappy with how police responded to the reported hosting of a cockfighting ring over the weekend. Residents say young children, pregnant women, and elderly people were among those enjoying their evening when it happened. Hours later, the encounter was on the lips of many.
We went to the end of the gully and they start to shoot like this. They come from up here, and come down in the bush. The men from Courts are calling you when they get hit.
Police say they were raiding this cockfighting ring nestled on the outskirts of the community. But residents are telling a different story.
Evidence coming for cockfighting, when they're blazing through this alley for children be boat here, running boat.
In a statement, Police Acting PRO Inspector Rodney Innes revealed that a 33-year-old resident of Clifton Hill, St. John, and a 40-year-old of Retreat Terrace, Blackrock, St. Michael, were nursing gunshot injuries at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. He also denied allegations of police misconduct describing them as appalling. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem. Well, the first day of school for hundreds of students of the Samuel Chapman Prescott Institute of Technology didn't go quite as planned as staff staged industrial action. The National Union of Public Workers was called in to investigate complaints of environmental issues in the workshop section of the Willie St. Michael Institution. Acting Deputy General Secretary Wayne Walren was on hand to meet with management. After meeting staff for over 2 hours to update them on developments, Mr. Warren revealed temporary arrangements have been put in place.
Where they will do theoretical teaching, hopefully during this week they will do some industrial cleaning, and then we will have a further assessment by Monday to see how that has impacted on the concerns raised. There's some concerns too about persons acting for a very long time. We have a colleague who have been in the position for 10 years, and we are saying that's untenable, so the matter still also is a matter between the administration of the Samuel Chapman Prescott Polytechnic and also the PAD, where you have to get the post declared vacant because the person was acting beyond the seconded officer. So we would hope that we get that matter resolved.
Mr. Warren says discussions with management were cordial, but he's adamant that conditions were not suitable for teaching.
Workers didn't intend to commence action. Workers came in willing to work, and they find that the conditions under the workshop were not amenable for teaching, delivery of teaching. So they come in prepared to work, not to take action, but having discovered the situation that was pending for so long at the beginning of the semester, they decided that it would not be wise to commence work in conditions that are a violation of the Safety at Work Act. It would not make sense commencing. It's not good for the students, it's not good for the teaching staff.
The Barbados Nurses Association will be hosting a forum next month to address some of the concerns of its membership. It comes on the heels of violent cases involving patients attacking nurses and nurses attacking patients. BNA President Joanna Waterman says this is just one move in light of the recent negative incidents.
This nursing forum will be an opportunity for our nurses to express their concerns, voice their concerns, their opinions, the issues that are being raised or highlighted. And what we're actually going to do is we will have a number of specialist speakers. We will have a psychiatrist who's consulted to join us, and the psychiatrist will look at coping mechanisms.
Meanwhile, First Vice President Heather Dean says it's possible the nurse involved could face disciplinary action before the Barbados Nursing Council.
The Nursing Council is in that process of being appointed again, so when the new membership takes over, I guess that would be one of the concerns that they will have to deal with. That is provided that it has been referred to them. And let me say that it is not only the hospital administration that can refer it, but any member of the public who is so concerned about the matter can write and ask to have it investigated.
Welcome back. Well, there's a call for corporate Barbados to play a greater role in next year's Crop Over Festival. It's coming from Culture Minister John King. While expressing his gratitude for their total sponsorship of $2.5 million for this year's festival, an increase from last year's figures, he's hoping next year's total will be much bigger.
I want to tell you that for Crop Over 2019, we're going to be looking for 10 million. So prepare yourselves. A closer look at the figures identified increased levels of participation from some of the regular sponsors, along with the addition of some new partners. This result is in spite of a number of sponsors that were forced to reduce their budgets or whom did not return to the Crop Over family of sponsors this year.
One of his best crop overs. That's how entertainer Lil Rick is describing the 2018 festival, which saw him taking home the lion's share of music prizes. Lil Rick was speaking to CBC as he collected the keys for his brand new Mazda 3 and free comprehensive insurance package during a presentation at MQI. With his first ever Sweet Soca crown in the bag, he's hinted he may be going after a pickety crop title next.
Well, the fans and everybody trying to push me in that direction, so I think I will give it some thought and see if I could get 2 nice social commentaries and see if I could get into this pickety crop next year.
And Rick says he'll definitely be defending his title next year.
We are already in the studio looking at rhythms, thinking about songs, and trying to prepare for Crop Over 2019.
So we can definitely count on you defending your title?
Yes, please. I'm looking to take back Mikey's title.
And the Ministry of Culture will be looking for ways to partner with Barbados' only pop culture convention, the Floor Anime Con Expo. Tristan Ward has more.
Visiting the Anime Con Expo for the first time, Culture Minister John King says he's very impressed with the event. So much so, his ministry intends to help make it bigger and better.
I will definitely be here every year from this year. It's amazing the amount of talent that we have on Barbados that I actually didn't even know anything about. And so we're going to be looking for ways where we can partner with the producers of this particular event to make sure that next year it's bigger and better, and that we can get more Barbadians passing through also, because one of the worst things you can do is have a great product like this and it's almost like a secret. So we got to find ways to make sure that when I get here that I can't even get inside.
Anime Con Executive Director Omar Kennedy says the event, now in its 9th year, continues to grow,
which allows persons to see something which they cannot get anywhere else in the Caribbean. We believe that you should have a niche market which you should be able to capitalize on, and we are doing so through our partners to make sure we don't have just a fantastic local event, but a regional and international event where people can say they had a fantastic time and learned a lot.
This year's edition is not just about the 2-day expo at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre. Mr. Kennedy says the region's biggest pop culture convention now includes other activities.
We had a cruise on Jammin' Catamaran on Thursday. It was our cosplay cruise, so you dress up in your costumes and you come and have fun on the high seas. On Friday, we had something called a playcation, which is like an outdoor version of Anime Con where you can get on some rides. It's a fun day for the family and the kids. And then we have Anime Con on the Saturday and the Sunday, which is for, you know, the older geeks and nerds who want to come out and just see what Barbados and the world has to offer.
For many patrons, the event gives an opportunity to cosplay, which is dressing in self-made costumes as some of their favorite characters. Carver Antoli from the hit video game Dishonored, Frank Castle from Marvel's The Punisher, and Gamora from the Guardians of the Galaxy are only some of the characters seen enjoying themselves here.
It's really great. I love it every year. I've been here since like 5 years ago, and I've always been coming. It's a really nice and enjoyable occasion to come to, and I think that a lot more people should be coming to celebrate this occasion.
This is my 5th year coming, and it's just been fun. It's for people who like to read comics and stuff, so it's like geek. It's like a geekcation for us.
With around 4,000 people attending the event last year, this year's edition is expected to see larger numbers. Tristan Ward, CBC News.
In Guyana, President David Granger has been re-elected leader of the People's National Congress Reform, or PNCR, a leading member of the coalition government in Guyana. His Minister of Public Health, Volda Lawrence, has emerged as the first female chairperson of the party. The highlight of the election was the contest for the position of chairman, with Lawrence coming up against Attorney General Basil Williams, who was hoping to be re-elected to the position, and Minister of State Joseph Harmon. Lawrence secured 346 votes, while Harmon and Williams secured 287 and 183 votes respectively for the second highest position within Guyana's oldest political party. Lawrence pledged to ensure there is unity within the party and across the country. And staying in Guyana, recent comments by Guyana's opposition leader about the drinking of alcohol during lunch and the sum spent on providing refreshments every time Parliament meets have not gone down well with the Minister of Telecommunications, Cathy Hughes. Minister Hughes says Bharat Jagdeo is not being truthful. We have a report from SJPI TV.
When I heard Mr. Jagdeo ranting and raving and lying deliberately misinterpreting the facts. I feel it necessary to let Guyanese know that we are not an irresponsible group of people. It is not 65 MPs eating $700,000 worth of food every single sitting. I would not be sitting in the Parliament and tolerating that. Most of the members of Parliament, and I'm friends with some of them on the opposition side, would not be sitting down and tolerating that.
Minister Hughes said she contacted the Parliament office to get the facts regarding that $700,000.
Everybody fails to realize that that money feeds a total of 309 persons. 309 persons. If you did a quick mathematical calculation, that works out to be about $2,265 per person. I want to explain to you who these people are. So first of all, you have the MPs. You also have the staff, 65 of course. You have the staff of Parliament. That's 115 persons.
Members of the media, cleaners, security, some 60 drivers, government and medical personnel are all served with refreshments.
So what I'm trying to show you is that we're creating, when you talk about fake news, this is the height of fake news, because you're suggesting that 65 people are eating $700,000 worth of food. And of course, we see a newspaper article that mentions just that not once mentions how many people are actually eating the food.
On the alcohol side, Minister Hughes again found Jagdeo to be untruthful.
The Grenada government is predicting economic growth in excess of 3.5% this year. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell says this is due mainly to significant contributions from the construction and other sectors. He says the projected growth is 3.5%, but it could very well exceed that based on the figures already being seen so far this year. In what was dubbed as a post-carnival message to the nation, Mitchell, who is also the finance minister, said his administration's immediate focus is to prepare for the 2019 budget, which is scheduled to be presented in late November. He said the annual budget retreat was held on July 31st, weeks earlier than usual, to kickstart preparations. The Bahamas government says it is looking to remove all shanty towns from the landscape of the country. This even as it seeks to implement its immigration reform policies. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says the problem of shanty towns is a long-standing one which successive governments have failed to address in a comprehensive manner. An injunction granted by a Supreme Court judge earlier this month blocks the government from demolishing settlements in New Providence as it had planned to do after August 10th. Well, a glimpse into the world of sports is just ahead with Mark Seal, but first, here's a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Before a hurricane, you should know your nearest hurricane shelter and have a plan for relocation to the shelter if that becomes necessary. Cooperators General Insurance, helping you to be prepared this hurricane season.